Hey everybody, Adam here for True North Wilds, and this is the August unboxing of the Mystery Tackle Box Elite Bass Box. MysteryTackleBox.com if you want to check them out. They have the elite size boxes, they have the pro size boxes, and they have the regular size boxes. Different species, bass, walleye, multi-species, a variety of different things. So you can go check them out there if you like. Before I open up this month's bass box, I want to give a shout out real quick. You may notice my new painting here. So this is a painting of two walleyes chasing a crankbait, done by Matt Doyle, Matt Doyle Fine Art on Facebook, Instagram, mattdoylefineart.com. If you want to see his webpage, he does fish pictures and all sorts of other wildlife pictures as well, and he does a fantastic job. My pike picture here was from him as well. Just fantastic stuff, so I recommend you go check him out. I'll put a link down in the description as well. So thanks to him for the awesome painting. It fits in really well with my decor around here, so I'm really happy about that. So let's dive into this box now. While I'm doing that, don't forget, if you're not already, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/TrueNorthWilds, on Instagram @TrueNorthWilds, and of course our blog site, TrueNorthWilds.com. So as usual, we got our what's in the box card, sticker, catalog with all their products. Now, let's see what we got for lures. The box looks decently full. I'm seeing a lot of soft plastics, which I usually like for bass. First up we have Excite Baits, tournament proven, high floater raptor tail chunk. Okeechobee Craw is the color. I hope I am saying that right. Little bit of a scent there, but that might just be the plastic. I'm not entirely positive. So this is a nice craw shaped soft plastic. It's got a really interesting blue tinge on it. The paddles, or the claws, have a blue top layer. Same thing with the body, and then the rest of the body is this nice olive green, sort of a natural, neutral sort of color. Black flecks in it, and a little bit of blue sparkle, which I like. This plastic is incredibly detailed. Everything is cut really nice. The fins on the side, the claws, the antennas, the ribs on the body, everything is very crisp, very, there's no overflow, there's no extra little bits and pieces, everything's very sharply cut, which is nice to see, and just a lot of detail. Even the claws here have the ribbed texture, and you can see they actually have separate pieces here to simulate the claw shape. Very nice plastics. I really like that. There's even some eyes molded on here, some raised parts on the plastic for the eyes. Just overall, really detailed soft plastic. I like that. I like the color, I like the blue sparkle in there. Definitely a soft plastic that'll work really well for bass. So, more soft plastics. This is Big Bite Baits Pro Series. Doesn't say what the model name or the color is. It's actually kind of a small package. It looks more like a sample pack. And it's only got it's got 5 in there. But it doesn't have any information on what it is. Maybe the card does. Big Bite Baits Smallie Smasher is the name of this soft plastic. So this is sort of a bleach worm type shape, a little bit, it's got a flat bottom, smoky gray color for the actual plastic, and then purple sparkles in there, so I really like that. Of course, everybody knows that I love purple color for around here for walleye and bass. This is a good shape for walleye and bass, actually. Smallmouths will go after this for sure, and walleye will go after this as well, just because of that worm shape. I haven't really used one like this with the smoky gray color with purple in it, so I'm not sure how that combination will work. I don't see why it wouldn't, though. I think that'll work pretty well. It's got a nice flat sort of a tail, a little bit of a ribbed body, just an overall decent profile for a smallmouth plastic. Nothing wrong with that. And it does have a scent. That one definitely has a scent. So that's a bit of that almost like a chemical candy scent is sort of the way I describe that one. Next up we have Yum Baits Finesse Worm. 4-inch finesse worm in black. Just plain black. So Yum Baits obviously is a popular brand. I think everybody is familiar with them. And they appear to have a scent because they're very, very oily. If they do have a scent, I'm not sure what it would be. Proprietary attractant, so a blend of enzymes and natural attractants. It doesn't really, it's obviously there, but it doesn't really smell like anything, so it's hard to comment on that. But there's lots of it in here. They're very, very oily. The package is very oily. You can see they're a nice worm shape, nice floppy worm, lots of action, lots of tail action. In the water, that'll be all over the place, depending how you rig this up. So as a drop shot, you know, you'll get that sort of action in the water where the whole body is floating around. And if you go weedless, you'll get mainly just the tail, but the tail has a lot of action going on there. The tail kind of bulges out a little bit at the end, so you get a little bit more weight there. So no matter how you rig this up, when you get that tail going, this thing is going to move around a lot in the water. Other than that, it's a basic worm profile. It's got, you know, a little bit of a rib section there like a worm. And it's a good size. It's a good size for smallmouth bass. I imagine it's a good size for largemouth bass. Pike will probably go after this too. It's big enough to attract pike. And walleye will definitely go after this. Walleye really like worms. The black color, to simulate a more of a leech, is what would attract walleye. Walleye will go after this thinking it's more like a leech. Whereas smallmouth bass, who go after worms and darker colors in general, will absolutely love this. And of course pike just go after anything that's big enough. So yeah, that looks like a decent plastic. There's a lot of them in this package, which is nice. 12 pack. There's a lot of scent and a lot of attractant on that. So overall, nice looking plastics. Very, very oily. Next up we got some terminal tackle, so some size 4 hooks, basic terminal tackle. We got a jig head pacemaker jig series by V&M, designed by Bassmaster Classic champion Cliff Pace. I don't follow the Bassmasters, so I'm not sure who that is, but there's a picture of him here. Looks like pretty much a typical jig head with the skirting. So it's got the weed guard, olive green. It's got a nice big hook. It's a bit of a shorter shank than some of the other ones that I get. Big jig head, which actually has an interesting profile because it's an angle and it's got these sort of ridges on it. So I don't see that all that often, so that's interesting. Same thing, olive green with black sparkles. The skirting is all that olive green and brown sort of color with black specks in it. And it does have, it looks like a rattle. Yeah, so a little bit of a rattle on the back end here as well. So interesting jig head, sort of a typical skirted jig as far as what I'm used to getting. Nothing wrong with that. I'm sure that'll work well for bass. More soft plastics. So we have Big Bite Baits again. The Big Bite Baits Pro Series. This one actually has information on it. So it's a 5-inch trick stick in baby bass color. So this is a Senko style worm, which I love. I love fishing with this style of lure. Nice, good size plastic, that 5-inch. Again, pike will go after this just based on the size. Walleye won't go after this, but that's fine. This is a bass box. Bass will definitely go after this. They love that Senko style worm. I love catching bass on this style of lure. Like I said, wacky rig it right in the middle just with a hook. Let them sink down, let them float. It's just a really fun way to fish. Sometimes if I'm feeling lazy and I don't want to wait for it to sink on its own, I'll throw the same style of wacky rig there, except I'll use a jig head with just a regular ball jig and drop it right to the bottom, and then I'll bounce it off the bottom and get that action along the bottom. That for me works really well too. So there's a couple different ways that you can fish these style of worms, but either way it's a lot of fun, and they definitely work on bass. This one has a salt coating, which is pretty generous. There's a lot of salt on here, and you can kind of see it's impregnated into the plastic as well. The color's really nice. That pale bottom, darker on top. Lots of sparkles in here. Green, looks like a light green or almost a gold color in there, and then some black as well. So just a nice color, nice profile, really fun style of lure to use. Same thing, a little bit of a scent on there that I'm just really not sure how to describe it or what it is. That more of that chemical candy smell in there. They don't say anything on here about a scent, but there's obviously something on there that I can smell. Alright, so we're past the soft plastics. There was a lot of soft plastics in this box. So moving on now, we got another jig head, skirted jig. This one is actually a little bit more interesting looking. The Papa Murr jig. Again, some guy on here who's designed this. I don't follow the tournament, so no idea who that is. But the jig itself is really nice. Actually, I really like the colors on this. So, got the weed guard in black. Got a longer shank hook on this one, and I don't know what style this is called as far as the hook goes, but I like the hook shape on this, where it's kind of an angle bend and then the circle. I could see that being really useful for holding on baits. Football shaped head here with a splash of orange on the back, a neutral brown sort of color for the rest of it. The skirting is mostly this neutral brown color. It's got a little bit of an olive green splash in there, and then it's got this splash of orange along the back, which I really, really like. I like lures like this. I like this style where it's just a splash of color, but just enough to give it that, set it apart. If it wasn't for that orange in there, if it was just a little bit more green or brown or whatever, it would just be like any other skirted jig head that I've gotten. But that little splash of orange there, it sets it apart, lets you mix things up a little bit, lets you play with some color combinations for the plastic trailers that you're going to use or the bait that you're going to use. I just find that a lot more interesting. Not to say that this other jig is bad, it's just that it tends, to me, to be a little bit more boring when everything is just kind of the dull colors, and then it kind of, nothing really to set it apart from other ones. This splash of orange for me sets it apart, so I'm really happy with that. That'll definitely work for bass again. And everything looks pretty good on it. No rattle on this one, so that's different. But other than that, looks like a good jig head. We got one hard bait in here. The Hard Knocker, the Booyah Bait Co. Hard Knocker. So I'm assuming it's going to have a rattle. Hard Knocker Moon Phase Shad is the color. And it does not say what the dive depth is. But why would it when it's not a diving crank? I should probably look at the lure before I look for information. So this is a lipless crankbait, classic bass bait style. I love lipless cranks. They actually are a really good multi-species lure, lipless cranks just in general. While I go after them, bass, pike, anything that I'll fish for around here typically goes after a lipless crank. And even for ice fishing, one of the things I really like about lipless cranks is that they're useful all through the year. You can use them in warm water, you can use them in cold water, you can use them through the ice. So I always like getting lipless cranks. This one in particular looks like it has a lot of ball bearings in here. And you can hear that. That is a lot of rattle action going on there. So that's good. Lipless baits generally have rattles in them, or they cause some sort of vibration in order to work. And they attract a lot of attention that way. The eyes on this are dark red. They're really nice. They got the splash of color on the front. Clear plastic body, which if you turn it into the light a little bit, it does reflect silver. So with the black top and then that reflective silver or otherwise clear, you do get the baitfish pattern. So this is the baitfish pattern that walleye around here like. So this will be good for walleye, for ice fishing in colder water, as well as being good for bass. Smallmouth bass will absolutely go after this. All in all, nice profile on it, nice lure. Feels like it's a decent quality. Everything feels solid. And I like that they have the two different sizes of hooks. I'm not sure how that'll change things up, but a lot of times you'll see like blades or other flash on the back end and just one treble hook. I like that they put just a smaller treble hook here just to mix it up a little bit. The hooks look actually really nice quality. Not sure what brand or anything that they are, but very, very nice. Overall, really nice lure. I always like getting lipless cranks. This in particular is quite a nice one. Last but not least, this is a really interesting lure. Savage Gear Lures with Attitude. So the Savage Gear Slow Sink Dark Gill. This is a 5-inch jointed swimbait, I think. Let's take a look at this. This is a really interesting lure. It says that it comes with a tuning weight. So it's got a little nail weight in here that you can use to tune the weight of it. This is a really massive. This is a massive swim bait compared to what I'm used to getting. So there's the hooks. I don't get a lot of big swim baits just in general. So it's always interesting when I do. This thing, I've never gotten anything quite like this. So it's a soft plastic body. It's jointed from the back 2 sections. So you'll get a good swim action there. The front section has something in there. It's very rigid. So it's got this soft plastic rubber coating, but inside it's very rigid. It's very solid. Of course, you got your hook or your line eyelet here, and then you got your 2 hooks, front top and front bottom. I don't have any other lure like this where I have that sort of a hook pattern where they're so close to the line at the front and at the top and bottom like that. I would expect them to be on the bottom, front and back, or at the top, maybe far back top. So I don't know why that is, or I imagine it's because with bass, they inhale the whole thing and they tend to go for the head first. It's kind of too bad that it's like that, because I would have loved to try this for pike, but pike don't typically go head first like a bass does, and pike are going to typically come from the side or from the back. So this, but it's not a pike box. I'm not complaining about that. I'm saying I wish that I could have also used this for pike. As far as a bass lure, this is pretty cool. This is really awesome. I don't get much lures like this, so I don't really know what to say about it. It looks incredibly lifelike. It looks like I'm holding a fish in my hand here. It looks like I'm holding a bluegill. Just a beautiful color. The paint job on here, or the color of the plastic, is really well done. I'm really excited to try this out. I might not get to try this until spring, but I think that when I do, that this will work really well. So that's a really cool lure to get. And of course the adjustable weight to make it swim how you want it to swim is a nice touch as well. That's the box for August. The August Mystery Tackle Box Elite Bass Box. MysteryTackleBox.com to check that out. I'm pretty happy with this box. I love soft plastics. When people mostly think bass, I know in the States it's all largemouth. Up here it's all smallmouth bass. I don't have any largemouth around me unless I drive to a little ways away to like one specific spot that has them, and they don't typically get very big, and they're hard to actually catch because it's basically the only spot you can go to catch them, and so it usually is pretty busy there. So smallmouth for me is what I'm always targeting. All of these lures, except this might be a little bit big for smallmouth, which is why I'm kind of sad that I won't be able to use it for pike, because it would have been a really cool pike lure. But I'm still going to give it a try. Smallmouth might go after it. I might make a special trip to that largemouth pond specifically to try this one, just because I really like that lure. But all the soft plastics are going to work really, really well for smallmouth. A lot of them will work really well for pike and walleye as well. The jig heads are nice. The lipless crank is really nice. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with this box. I feel like I got a pretty good value out of this one. There was a lot of stuff in this box, so that's always good to see. Leave a comment down below, as usual. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know what you guys are getting, if the boxes are pretty similar, different colors that you guys are getting, what you think of the ones that I opened up today. I always like to hear what everybody else is doing, especially since I haven't been out fishing as much as I would like to this year. So don't hesitate to leave some feedback down below. Like and subscribe, those buttons down there, it really helps me out for the channel. Don't forget